Hey Riley besties, welcome back to the Writing with Anna New podcast where we talk about all things writing. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about tropes, writing tropes and how to incorporate them into your novel. So of course, I'm going to be talking about kind of my process and like how I find my favorite tropes and just like how I actually incorporate it in my book, and also give you an example of where I incorporate like all of my favorite tropes in one book in a whole big masterpiece. And I think before I get on to kind of that side of the podcast episode, I first want to say how important it is to have tropes in your book that you love, because at the end of the day, tropes can help you. Like if you incorporate these tropes into your book, it's only gonna really increase your love and joy for writing your book and make you fall in love with the story even more. So I'm so excited to get into this episode. So let's go ahead and go. Yes, I felt like I needed to say something else, but I don't. Let's get into it. So the first step, of course, is picking your favorite tropes. And of course, you probably have watched different series. You've probably read some books. Do you like my bookcase? If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my beautiful bookcase right in the background. But yeah, where do you get your favorite tropes from? Of course, media, of course, books, of course, writing your own books, even like also in your own life. Just I encourage you guys to just like have a document or even just like a notepad. Like I have a notepad and I just like wrote down all of my favorite tropes, and I had so much fun just gushing over like, it's so good. For example, I love it. Okay, this is when it gets funny because different writers, different readers, they have very specific niche sort of tropes. And it's so funny because it's like, I get it. Like, yes, I love that. But it's like, you have to explain it so much. For example, I really love the sort of romance trope of it's not enemies to lovers. Okay. It's actually where there's two characters and they hate each other for no really real reason, but they're forced to work together in order to achieve like a particular goal or to survive or whatever, and they end up trusting each other, having feelings for each other, sort of thing. Like that banter I adore, where it's just like they're just in a team and it's just grudgingly like they have to work together. I love that. I really don't like enemies to lovers. Like The Cruel Prince, if you guys know oh my gosh, I didn't like that book for the only reason, and that is that Cardin wanted to literally kill Jude, and just like the enemies to lovers, that was too hardcore for me, too hardcore. I'm just like, no, like they shouldn't want to kill each other. Like damn, it was too much, too crazy for me. So that's an example. I like that trope, I don't like that trope, and just like finding the sort of middle ground and the differences between your favorite tropes or favorite non-favorite tropes. Sorry if that was there's some hooligan going around on their motorcycle. I don't know if you can hear that. But yes, figure out what your favorite tropes are. I also really like Grumpy X Sunshine. I also love Found Family. So wholesome, so wholesome. I also really like Tragic Past. Not for the reason where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want to read about a book about a character who has a tragic past. No, it's because it really does, evoke so many more emotions within a character, within a story, and I think just like helps delve deeper into their problems. And I think it's just also really interesting, not fun to write about, but like it's compelling. Does that make sense? So I guess a tip there also is just to like realize it doesn't have to be tropes that you love and you think are cute. Like usually it's like, oh my gosh, I don't write like what's that trope called where it's just like one bed but there's two people. That's sort of like one bed trope. Like that's like really fun, but like again, it doesn't have to be those sorts of cutesy romance scenes and stuff like that. So yeah, now that you have your favorite tropes and you have a list of them, what you're going to be doing is to actually plotting it into your book and making it so incorporated that it just becomes a part of your book. And something to keep in mind here, and a way to kind of do this efficiently, is to actually decide and figure out if these particular tropes, or I don't know how many you have, probably like 5 to 10. 10's a lot, maybe like 5. 5 is probably the minimum, no, the max, I would say. So decide if they're big plot based tropes, if they're subplot based tropes, or if they're scene based tropes. Okay, so there's like 3 different sorts of tropes. And also you can categorize it into different sorts of categories, like friendships or like romance or like character development or like world building or like plot, for example, like the prophecy trope. Those sorts of things, like definitely kind of just like have an overview of like what part of your book you're dealing with, okay? And that can help us try to figure out how we can incorporate it within your book. Usually you try to think about this, and I really do encourage you guys to think about this when you are like plotting your book, not so much like, going into, sorry, I just like breathed on the mic. Not so much of you editing the book and being like, wow, I wish I incorporate. It's still possible, still very but like usually when you think of a book, for example, The Cruel Prince, I'm gonna say The Cruel Prince again, that screams enemies to lovers. Like that's the whole book essentially. I know it's like fantasy stuff as well. I guess there's prophecy, is there? But like those sorts of big tropes are things that you do in the developmental stages of your book. And usually it comes naturally. Like, don't get me wrong, like sometimes your favorite tropes will just evoke naturally, but I'm also talking about the smaller sort of specific, tropes. And sometimes when you are kind of editing or kind of coming back, or maybe just like saying, Anna, like I really don't like my book, like why don't I like my book? And it's literally because you don't have your favorite tropes in it, okay? You don't have your favorite tropes in it. And a way to kind of incorporate that back is to also incorporate, it doesn't have to be the big plot stuff, it can be subplot. And again, I said like subplot and scene based. And that's kind of like the more specific, sort of smaller places within your book that you can incorporate these scenes. Okay, so I'm going to be getting into an example of my own project, Project CZ, which has like literally all of my favorite tropes in it. And I literally don't even know how I did it. I just did it. And the main thing that I want to take from that, when I do explain it eventually, is that some tropes that I loved, for example, the Grumpy X Sunshine, though that trope did not work because the two main characters had a different trope. You don't have to sacrifice one for other. You just include them both. You include them both, guys. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm getting really excited. So yeah, for example, Project CZ, I incorporated all those four, I think it was like 4 tropes I talked about. Found family, rivals to kind of work together to lovers, Grumpy X Sunshine, and also tragic past. I focused on characters since these were kind of mostly character development sort of tropes. So again, you kind of categorize it and then figure out if it's plot, subplot, scene. I hope that kind of makes sense. So of course I categorized these and I was like, okay, these are basically characters. So I got to focus on the characters. And so the 2 main characters, Dell and Avon, they're really, really, really great. And they're actually the rivals to kind of work together sort of trope. I need a name. I swear it has a name for it. But it's just kind of like, yeah, that trope that worked really well with those 2 characters because they end up becoming kind of lovers, very grudgingly. And of course, because of their characters, you already develop the characters. So I already have Avon, I already have Dell. I have them figured out. I know who they are. One of them, they're basically both grumpy. They're both grumpy. Okay, so I don't have a happy ex-grumpy sort of main. That does not matter, guys. You know why? Because I incorporated that with 2 other characters. And something that's even more interesting is I wanted this trope so bad, the Grumpy X Sunshine, that I didn't even need to make it a romance trope. You can change your tropes. It doesn't have to be how you think they are. For example, for Project CZ, the Grumpy X Sunshine, I guess that kind of induces that like it's a romantic relationship, but no, I did these siblings. Jen, I'm having like, I can't remember my characters. Jen and also Elstein. My goodness, what is wrong with me? They're siblings, and Jen also stands for Genesis, which is actually really cute. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Jen, yeah, he's like the really nice sunshine. He's like so nice. He's so sweet. And then his sister, Elstein, extremely grumpy all the time. And it's so fun just seeing that dynamic. And I guess the takeaway here again is to make sure you kind of broaden your sort of perspective and think like, it can work within your story. If you really want a trope to work, you can make it work and it doesn't have to be in the traditional way. Okay, the next big trope was also found family. So that's kind of also the category of characters. And of course, the whole story is basically found family, where there's an orphanage and Avon, who's kind of like the chief guy, the leader, he kind of helps, save orphans of war. And it's really, really cool because that kind of builds up that whole idea of found family and that these orphans have a place to, go. And I guess that's how I did that. And also tragic past, that kind of also does have to do with the category of characters, and I made Avon have the very tragic past because he's also the second main character, so like it just made sense, okay? And I really, really do think that these tropes, not only are they really, really fun to actually create and use in your story, but they also are extremely great plot devices, and they can help you so much come up with amazing book ideas and plot ideas and like subplot concepts. So really do keep that in mind. I just don't know how you understood what I just said, because I don't even understand what I feel it's so difficult that if I don't have things on the screen, like if I can't read, I'm not a listener sort of person. So people who listen to podcasts and like listen to this right now, like, wow, you're really smart, like crazy. Because this sort of stuff I'm talking about, it's kind of like workshop stuff that you need like on the board, and you need like I'm the teacher and you're the listener, or like you're the student or whatever, which I know is dumb, but like you need to write it down. So if you maybe have a notebook and you're listening to this, wow, you're very committed. I love you. Anyways, I hope this kind of helped you a little bit, and yeah, you got to kind of know a little bit more about Project CZ and my favorite tropes, and kind of how important it is to write what you want to write within your books. And that includes, of course, incorporating your favorite tropes, baby. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and definitely comment down below any episode ideas because I need some. I have like a whole bunch, but I'm just like, I don't know which one to do. So if you just comment down below what you want to hear, definitely do. And yeah, I hope to see you in my next podcast episode. I was going to say video. But yeah, also, sorry if you're still listening. Hello. I like literally, okay, I'm going to stop. My brain's everywhere today. I did just upload a video about like AI and writing, and how like literally in AI, like it was kind of like open chat GTP, that sort of thing. You should watch the video, basically is what I'm trying to say. But like that was able to create a story, and I think that was a really, really fun video, and a lot of people actually really liked it. So definitely check that out. Yeah, AI has grown so much to the point where it can create poetry and art and plot my own books. So if you want to listen to that, definitely, watch that. It was like my latest upload. Yes. Sorry, I've been very rambling today. Guess I'm just very excited for you guys to incorporate all your favorite book tropes. Woo! Okay, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!